Hi, my name is Dr. Callie Cyrus, and I'm a psychiatrist, which means I went to medical school. But unlike so many of my physician colleagues who I did go to medical school with, who are in the front lines of the ICU and the ER, I'm at home, working from home, like many of you. But we're still warriors on a different kind of front line, and we're fighting the same, but sort of like a brother of the coronavirus, equally as dangerous of a pandemic, called Rona Rage. No matter how many times you wash your hands, you're not going to get rid of this Rona Rage. And this is what I'm here to help you fight. So every week, well, at least for the foreseeable future, or until people stop watching or no one watches, I'll be offering tidbits of information to turn you all into warriors against Rona Rage. Please know that the information I'm offering is not intended to be a substitute for face-to-face professional advice. The content of this video is not intended to treat or diagnose any medical or psychological problem. The video is not intended to be used as a substitute for medical or psychological care that is provided through a professional relationship, and I'm neither responsible nor liable for any claim, loss, or damage resulting from use of information on this video. The mention of a specific product or service does not constitute a professional recommendation unless so stated. Check with your healthcare provider before changing your treatment regimen. And if you're having any thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself, hurt someone else, or in the middle of a clinical emergency, please call 911, report to your closest emergency room, or call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. With that being said, if you email me questions to askdrcallie@gmail.com, I will do my best to respond with information that is general enough to maintain anonymity and hopefully, offer educational tidbits, not advice, that relate to yours and other submissions. And a submission of a question to Ask Dr. Callie indicates acceptance of the disclaimer. Okay, now we got that out of the way. How do we fight Rona Rage? So my approach in general tends to be more gray area. Keep this in mind as I start answering some of the questions that people wrote in this week. So the first question was submitted by someone named John Seymour Butts, and it was, I think I'm sleeping too much, but I'm not sure because I probably need to catch up on sleep. So to you, Mr. Butts, I say treat yourself. You know what? You might actually need to sleep. Most of us don't sleep enough anyway. The average American usually sleeps around 6 hours, which is not enough. We really should be sleeping at least 8 to 9 hours. And I know you think that's ridiculous, but it's really not that ridiculous. I don't know, I was reading this National Geographic about the lack of sleep in Japan, and there's a sleep culture. Well, there's a culture around sleeping. You can fall asleep standing up. People are sleeping on trains. And we tend to sort of sleep shame people here in the States. This is your opportunity. You're at home. You're in t-shirt, right? You're wearing your favorite comfortable clothes. Get that sleep that you deserve, right? So also, stress is exhausting. We're on the front lines of Rona Rage, coronavirus. Trying to watch the news and keep yourself calm is going to make you want to sleep even more than normal. So again, treat yourself. You probably deserve to sleep. And if I'm thinking correctly and you're sleeping 6 hours or less, you probably have a sleep debt that you're trying to get rid of. So you're sleeping now that you have the time and trying to make up for the sleep that you didn't get. And sleep debt is a real thing. You can't necessarily repay all that sleep debt. You can try, but the damage is done. So consider yourself trying to catch yourself up to get the amount of sleep that a normal human should actually be getting. Bottom line, you might need to sleep, so treat yourself and don't feel too bad. I also mentioned gray area. So the other side of this is that, part of this question was, I'm not sure what else to do because I am sleeping too much and all the hours blend together. So if you're getting too much sleep, you just got to get out of bed. And this is the hard thing about working from home. Not everybody works from home, but when you do, it is kind of hard to make sure that the hours don't just blend together. And that's what happens that leads to the Rona Rage. So what you have to do is on Mondays, you wake up and you pretend like you're going to your office if you're someone who goes to an office. So you pretend like it's a Monday. You set your alarm, pretend like you're going to a really important meeting, or you have a date at noon, or you have a yoga class, whatever it is that gets you out of your house, and you go through a normal routine. For example, I set my alarm at 7 a.m., woke up, walked the dog, exercised, did some work, scheduled a lunch at noon like I usually eat, took a little nap at my desk like I would usually do, and worked for the rest of the afternoon. This is what you're going to have to do, is you're going to have to trick your brain into thinking that this is actually a work day. But again, it's in the comfort of your home. How awesome is that? What that also means is that you're going to need to have some structure. So that means diet. You can't just eat all the food that's in the refrigerator for the morning. I mean, you can. I hope you have enough. But part of that is being able to not eat too much because you know you're going to fall asleep. And the couch is right there. So again, boundaries and structure. You also want to keep your curtains and your windows open. You want the natural light to come in, right? If you have a dog, right, this is probably not the best thing to do, is to let him out on the balcony so he can bark at other dogs. So that doesn't actually happen in the office, right? But you have to deal with this. I imagine some of you have children, which I think is kind of, I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you still have these distractions. Pretend like it's at school. Pretend like they're at school, not it. So what I will likely do for my dog is crate him for a little while, or go in a room where he and I can have separate time, because that's what happens when I go to work and we're not together. So bottom line is, if you're sleeping too much, maybe you need to sleep because you're making up for lost time. Or two, maybe you're sleeping too much and you need to create some boundaries and structure in your schedule to get yourself out of bed so that all the hours do not run together, because that's how Rona Rage starts. So I also got a second question. And this one, probably a bit more practical, I'll say. I'm an independent contractor and I have things I should be doing to make money during this time, but I feel distracted by the situation and can't get motivated to start. God, if I had the answer to starting motivation, I would be rich. But let's see what I can do. One of the reasons why you're probably feeling distracted is because of Rona Rage. It's like having your mom with you all the time who's warning you to wash your hands and be careful not to get sick. But it's on NPR, it's on the television, it's on the text message, it's on the Instagram, it's on everything. So you essentially, again, boundaries, this word keeps coming up regarding the distractions, right? So if you're feeling like you're getting distracted and that's the main reason that you're not able to motivate, I would say boundaries around the news. So for me, I tend to watch news in the morning, and I tend to listen, and I tend to listen to news in the afternoon, and then I cut myself off. It doesn't mean that there's a little bit of the BuzzFeed and the Vox during the day to read some information, but at least I know that my intentional consumption is in the morning and in the afternoon. It's a 24-hour news cycle anyway. The stuff that they're repeating that you heard at 7 a.m. is going to be the same basically at 10 a.m. You're not missing much. So morning and night, and I sometimes miss the evening the evening news, just so I don't drive myself insane. But set some boundaries around whatever it is that's distracting you if it happens to be the news around coronavirus. I think another distractor, and I'm going to go ahead and say this, is going to be social media. So right now, everybody's posting. There's some really great memes. I know it's a thing that's bringing me some solace because I believe humans are amazing during times like this. These are some of the funniest things I've seen before, but I have to limit my consumption. I have a timer on my phone. It goes off after 15 minutes of being on Instagram or Twitter. Even though I usually press snooze and do like 1 minute more, 1 minute more, 1 minute more, it's still there, and it still imposes some guilt that makes me turn it off, and it does end up limiting how much I consume. So there are times when I find myself taking a break and it's going too long. And what I do is when that timer goes off, I know to get back to what I'm doing. Another thing that I do is I set timers. So some of it is that if you know you're going to watch the news, just tell yourself you're going to watch the news. Give yourself permission to do so. So for example, I have this chapter due. There's my dog again, right? I've learned how to work through it. I have a chapter due that I really don't want to work on. And what I have to do is set a timer to work 20 minutes on it. And then I take 10 minutes off and I try to calm down the dog, or I try to make videos like this, or I try to make a snack, or I look at my memes. And then when my 10 minutes are over, 20 more minutes back on my chapter. And I find that gives me that release of letting me do what I was going to do anyway, but at least I get 20 more minutes of motivated, undistracted work in. So if you're someone like me who's like, well, it's not the distractions, I don't want to do this, right? Then you just got to do it. You don't really, it sounds like you don't really have a choice. If this is what you need to do to make money, you got to figure out whatever it works and get it done. So when I have things like this chapter, as much as I don't want to do it, I don't have any money that's, hinging on it, but I still got to get it done. I have my respect, which is just as valuable. It's the first thing that I do. If I know my brain is, the quickest in the morning, first thing I do is I wake up, do my morning routine, and then sit down and I just get it done, right? I also withhold good things, which is not necessarily the healthiest thing to do, but I'm not allowed to watch Westworld until I finish at least half of my chapter. And that's what I'm willing to do. So, hold back on that 30-minute television episode or that phone call or that text message until you finish that one little part that you're allowing yourself to do in that job that you need to get completed. And create the environment, create the mood. I put on the music I like. That's not too distracting. It's not going to make me get up and dance, but it's going to make me feel awake and like I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I set myself up for success. I have my lunch and then I schedule some time to take a nap. And then once I know I'm moving into the afternoon where my brain's not as sharp, I start to do things like the citations in the chapter. So I start to do part of the work that's a little bit easier. And then once it gets to be around happy hour, then I'm really fully into the citations, which don't matter anyway. I've never understood citations. But then I think as far as really answering this question, you have to ask yourself the why. Why don't you want to work on whatever this is that you're working on? I can't answer that for you. For me, this is a long story, but there's always this struggle between the academic Dr. Callie, trying to prove this intelligence and get this chapter done, and the more practical of what actually needs to get done, like writing notes, right? So that's one of the reasons why I'm not motivated. Plus, I'm usually just tired or sleepy or cranky or hungry, but it still has to get done. And so I have to trick myself into getting it done. So these are some of the ways that I keep myself from not sleeping too much. I allow myself to sleep. I get work done when I may not be motivated and too distracted. And how I am keeping myself strong against the Rona Rage. And that was probably all over the place, and I'm hoping I'll be, more put together for next week. This was just a rallying cry, okay? So, next week, send your questions, ask Dr. Callie for information and education, not advice, and we'll go through some more structure, some of those burning questions you might have, because we're on the front lines. Okay. Thank you.